3, 2, 1. Stop testing. 3, 2, 1. Stop nuclear testing. How's the sound, person? Have we stopped testing nuclear weapons? We have? Great. Have we stopped producing radioactive wastes? Ah, well, that's our grandchildren's problem. Hi, my name's Jose, and I want to welcome you to Politically Correct Cooking, a show so chock-packed full of political correctness that it exceeds federal requirements. Our guest today, special show, special guests. Please welcome to the Politically Correct Cooking Show for Statehood in D.C., Josephine Butler, and everybody's grandmother, Hilda Mason.
Good to see you, Jose.
Hilda, good to see you.
Thank you, darling. I love you.
Hey, well, I'm one of your grandkids. You better love me.
That's right.
Now, before we talk about statehood for D.C., I'm looking at all this great food here. We got all sorts of good stuff. What's going on? What's on the menu?
Well, what we're going to make is, I'm not a cook, let me say that first. Because being a very busy person, I don't have time for cooking. And I don't do dishes, and I don't do floors, and I don't do beds.
Oh, I know, because
and I don't do windows.
You don't do windows. You're an activist. Every time I go into D.C. for something, I always see you there. Hilda, pretty much right behind you. Do you do cooking too, Hilda? Or?
Very little.
Very little. Okay. Well, we're glad you could get all your talents together to come on to the show because statehood is a big issue. A lot of people are talking about it. Yeah. We want to talk about it, and the two best people to talk about it are right here.
Right.
So before we talk about it, what do we got?
One word. What we're going to do is put together a little salad that when I was ill a while back, many of my friends bought me bowls of this salad, and I found it to be very good. I just don't have time to make it, so I'm going to try it on you and Hilda today.
Okay. Let's see what goes on.
It's tamale, and it has cracked wheat or couscous, whichever you like, and it has scallions, and it has lemon juice, and it has parsley.
Good.
And you just put it together, and you have everything you want in a meal.
Okay. Well, since you're in charge, tell me what you want me to do.
I want you to handle the garlic.
The garlic? Okay.
In charge of garlic.
I'll be the garlic specialist.
And right now, I'm going to dice this up. And Hilda, you can take the juice from the lemon, and then we'll be passing you things to put into the couscous there.
Where will the lemon juice go, Joe?
Why don't you just put it back in this cup once you mull it out with
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Now, statehood for D.C., I know back in 1776, one of the rallying cries for the American Revolution was taxation without representation is tyranny.
Right.
A lot of our viewers, Montgomery County, Fairfax County, you know, they look at their paycheck and they say, who is FICA and why is he taking all my money? And I was a member of the district. Are the district paychecks any different from, say, paychecks in Fairfax or Montgomery County?
It's just that we pay more taxes because we're fewer people. And we have greater expenses, so we pay more taxes, and we have less voice in how that tax money is spent. Before we can spend our tax money, regardless of what we might say, or what the mayor might say, or what the city council might say, that money has to go before two committees in the Senate and two committees in the House of Representatives, then to be signed by the president to say, yes, that we can spend our money in that manner, or no, we can't. And that's our tax money that they're talking about. So they will oversee how we can spend our money. Many of the things that they are holding us responsible for are things that they put upon us when we got home rule 20 years ago. So we have a very difficult time in making even that basic decision of spending our own tax dollars. So that's a bit different than here in Virginia or there in Maryland, where once the administration or the legislators decide how to spend it, they go on and spend the money. We can't do that.
Well, I think we should make it very clear that the residents of the District of Columbia technically pay federal taxes twice because we pay to the federal government and they have control of that. and then we pay to the district government, but the federal government has control of that. We don't have control of our own tax money. We also have to remember that they left us with a huge pension fund deficit that they have never cleared up.
So, well, we should tell the folks in Fairfax and Montgomery County who whine about taxes, good thing you don't live in D.C. because you'd be whining a lot more.
Right.
Now, the push to achieve statehood status for D.C., I know that Jesse Jackson is the shadow senator who's doing that. I know there's an organization, Statehood for D.C., that's working very hard. What is the situation right now? There was a bill in Congress. A lot of people were pleasantly surprised that so many people sponsored it in the House of Representatives. What's going on right now with statehood in say, on the Hill?
Well, let me say first that we were very happy. In fact, when we were sitting in the gallery of the House last November, and 153 members of the House representatives voted to support us in our effort for statehood, we were overjoyed because those people didn't have to stand with us. We had hoped that there would have been more, but to think that for the first time in 193 years that this issue had been brought to the floor and people had stood and said enough, that it's time that these people were brought into the Union, just like all other Americans. So we were happy about that. Then last Thursday, on the Senate, a committee in the Senate, the D.C. Appropriations Committee, one of those two committees that I told you about that are in the Senate, they held the first hearing at the urging of the head of the Senate, Senator Mitchell. They held their first hearing on statehood for the District of Columbia, along with alternatives to do anything to just get us out of where we are. And I was very proud of how our spokesperson, the mayor, the Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly, Councilperson Chavis, and all spoke up to support what the citizens had voted for in 1980, and that was that we began moving towards statehood for the District of Columbia. So I was very happy with that. I couldn't believe it was actually happening in my time.
How's my garlic looking? Pretty good?
Your garlic looks
Do I need any more, or am I doing fine?
I think that should do it.
Okay. Let me get a little plate here and let me dice it up some more.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something, Councilmember Mason. A lot of the arguments against D.C. statehood is that it's just a little city. My understanding is that the population of D.C. is larger than several states, raise a lot more taxes, things like that. Is that argument still holding water for opponents for D.C. statehood, or pretty much has the fans for D.C. statehood said that, look, we have more people than, say, North Dakota, we pay more taxes than Montana or something like that, but we don't have any representatives, we don't have any senators.
I think it is very critical that the people who are elected in this democratic country will understand that there are some states which do not have a population as large as ours, but we also have to realize that we're the only nation's capital in the world that does not have self-determination. And we said we're the most democratic country in the world, and I want that to be demonstrated.
Right, at least in the capital.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're finding how to crush the garlic. So you feeling better?
I'm always meddling.
Okay. Well, you said earlier that you were sick for a while. You feeling better? Back up to snuff?
Yes,
Good.
yes. All things considered, I'm always very happy that I'm moving around.
Good.
And I feel good today.
Good.
I feel very good.
She's been moving a long time.
She's been moving a long
Yes.
time.
Yes. But, if I can just say one other thing. I had the good fortune this year, I was forced into it, to go down to the Library of Congress and read the early history of the Congress and how the people there... you want to do that?
Sure, I can do that.
Put these in?
Yeah, just let me get that right there.
Okay.
How they viewed what they had done in their haste by taking away from the people who lived here in this area their rights, that they had fought and set up a whole new government that would be concentrating on the rights of the individual, the rights of the people, and equality of all people. And then in their haste to leave Philadelphia, they didn't realize that they were coming here where there were people who would be disenfranchised. And I read every page of the congressional records from 1800 to 1850. And they argued about this constantly. Now, Virginia asked that their land come back to them. And
That's Arlington.
That Arlington come back. And Arlington was made a part of Virginia. It took them years to do it because they didn't get it done, although it was requested first in 1803. They really didn't get it done until just before the Civil War, when Virginia was still a slave state and wanted to remain so. So at that time they gave Arlington back. But Maryland never wanted their part back, and they still don't want it back. And so we were caught in this limbo of neither the citizens living in the area that was turned over to the federal government by the state of Maryland didn't want to go back to Maryland, and Maryland didn't want them back and said so repeatedly.
But that doesn't reflect on the populace of Washington.
No,
Maryland
but
doesn't want.
at that time there were only a couple of thousand people here in the District of Columbia. And so John Adams and John Mason, President John Adams, President James Mason, and Jefferson all said in their speeches before the Congress and other places, as soon as we had the numbers of people that would support a state, and as soon as we had sufficient wealth to make a state viable, that we should have self-determination, that we should have self-government. But unfortunately, the Congress began to look at other things, such as this was, and this is in congressional records, that this was the most valuable land in the country, and so maybe they ought to consider holding on to it because it would probably be more attractive if it had the weight of the Congress behind it at all times. But still not considering that they had sold the people along with the land. And this was something that was put in place then accidentally at times and then was legitimized by this new thinking. And so the people living in this area have always been thought to be a part of the land. That's why the Congress today can look at us as if we were a line item on the budget instead of 600,000 people.
Right. Now, regarding the population of D.C., I noticed in the news the other day that it's decreasing.
Yeah.
It seems that for opponents for D.C. statehood, they could point to that and say, well, you know, you have people leaving the city, and why should we give you statehood? What is the reason for the flight of people from the city? How can we reverse that, and what is being done? Let me ask Hilda that, since she probably has a much better feel for how the people leaving the city, what can we do to bring them back so that when D.C. finally becomes a state, it's a vibrant city and not what people picture it right now?
Well, one of the main reasons why a lot of people are leaving the district is because, for one thing, we don't have as many jobs available as we should have. And also the cost of housing is very much higher than it is in most of the other areas around the district. And so people are leaving for that reason. I think that the council has begun, and the mayor, have begun to look at ways to create jobs and have begun to look at ways to deal with the housing cost. And I think that will have a lot to do with keeping people in the District of Columbia.
Good, good.
You know, also, our government is not quite 20 years old yet. And
this is the home rule in the district.
The whole movement of home rule. These people before 1975 had never experienced any type of government.
They had no city council, no mayor,
no nothing.
Just like ward.
So when they were
had a commission.
when they were elected, they had no experience governing. So they were learning for the first time, unlike people in other states
Right,
where they've had years and years. I suspect that their states were that different when they were just 20 years old.
Sure, I'm sure there was a lot of problems.
But they didn't have the problem of inheriting a major city that was already in trouble.
And already in place.
Yes,
So.
and already in
trouble.
financial trouble. See, so we're just now beginning to look at how to improve the quality of life in the District of Columbia. And that's one of the things that we see with statehood is that we can begin to really make massive differences that we will have to make. But I want to say something about the people leaving the district. You know, people began leaving the district in the 50s when blockbusting started, as immigration started. So what our aim is that before the turn of the century, if we can bring back the 800,000 people that left, that we had at that time, now we're down to 600,000. If we can bring another 200,000 back by doing things differently, making it easier to live and cheaper to live in the city, I think that we will be on our way to capture what was imagined in the early days, that when they looked at this being a city of magnificent intentions, that we will have millions of people living in the District of Columbia.
But that is why it's important to have statehood, because when the council and the mayor are trying to enact legislation to help take care of some of these problems, every piece of legislation has to go before the Congress, and they can wipe out anything that we send up there that they don't want. And that's another reason why we have to have statehood.
For example,
is this tomato? Is this enough tomato, or do you want the rest of it? Or
why don't you do all of it?
Okay,
Yeah.
I can do that.
One of the things was that the Congress people from Maryland and Virginia, which we don't have a voting congressperson, were able to enact legislation overriding our city government's rule that city government employees had to live in the city. And so the Maryland people, Congress people, and the Virginia Council put through a law that we couldn't force our employees to live in the city. So when you can't force your employees whose salary come from the tax money, we don't have the control that we need in order to build the kind of city that will entice other people to come back. But I want to say this too. I think that people are beginning to come back to the city, because even as it is, they realize that living in the city is not that bad.
She's saying city, but she means District of Columbia.
Right,
District of Columbia.
District of Columbia. Well, one of the things that can bring people back into the city, I know families, is good schools. You're on the education committee at the district. A lot of times you're reading a lot of some bad publicity about schools, not just in D.C. but everywhere.
That's right.
What can we do to improve schools, things like that, to make the standard of living better so we can get 200,000 people back into the district?
Well, one thing that we have to do is to have enough money to provide the services that the school system needs. And that is crucial. And it is not going to be easy to do, as you know. Another thing is we have to work with parents and community people to get them to work with the children to help them achieve, because we know I taught in the school system. I worked in the school system 19 years before I was elected to the Board of Education. And when I was working in the school system, I was a teacher, counselor, and assistant principal. All of my students did very well, even though a lot of them came from public welfare homes, but they did very well. And so I'm saying, because I worked with the parents and worked with community people, and we have to initiate or build stronger efforts to involve parents and community people, churches and all kinds of organizations, sororities, fraternities, all these people, to work with the young people and to work with the families. I got a bill passed 3 or 4 years ago to provide for free tuition or parents of children on public assistance so that they can go to the University of the District of Columbia. And so if we could really move that along so that parents would also be interested in education, the children can see then. All right? I think we have to do that. Yes.
Okay, now we're rapidly coming to the close of the show. What else is on the menu here that we need to do?
Well, one thing, we need to have people in Maryland and Virginia who have representatives in Congress to understand that it's in their interest that the core of the region, the District of Columbia, is made stronger. That's in everybody, because most of the people, or many of the people who live in the surrounding areas, work in the District of Columbia. So we can't keep letting the district fall down while we fatten up the counties. We have to have some equality there. So it is up to the people in Maryland and Virginia, I think, to
get the ball rolling
and to understand our problems and to get their Congress people to treat us equally, because we have to depend on them. And then maybe Hilda wanted to say some things that about other.
Right. Let me get some plates, because we just say the pretty much set
that
good to
looks
go.
Good. Yes.
Okay.
Did I do a good job mixing?
You did a great job. That's why you're on the council. Well, let me get some plates, and
Well, while you're getting plates, I'd like to say that I want everyone to know that Hilda Mason was born in the state of Virginia, down in Campbell County, below Lynchburg. And when I first came to the District of Columbia, I could not believe that the residents of the District of Columbia could not vote for the President of the United States. We only started doing that when we voted for John F. Kennedy.
okay.
And so I think it's very important for everybody to know that if you have people who live in these states, that you should contact them. I'm going to contact as many I can in all the states, and I do support a lot of people in the Congress, and so I want to get in touch with them. Put this in, okay?
Okay, and this is some lemon. Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we stir that up and let me give this this little meal a try.
I'm ready.
And
You all ready?
we're over here all set to go. I was crying with the scallions here, but
I'm sorry.
that's okay. It's okay.
Tears look pretty on you,
Yeah,
on me. Hilda, you want to?
Am I going to serve you?
You're in charge of
Or are you
serving.
going to serve yourselves?
No.
Self-determination.
Self-serving. All right.
How much
That
you
ought to
want?
do it for me.
Is that enough?
Yeah, just a little to try it here and give a little bit, because we have the rest of the crew of the Politically Correct Cooking Show wants to try some too.
All right.
So, let me try this out.
Yes.
Very good. Well, on behalf of the Cooking Show, I certainly want to thank both of you for coming here, filling us in on statehood. I hope that in the near future we can bring you back again so you can tell us about becoming a state. And we certainly appreciate that.
Yes.
So good luck, Joe. I know
Thank
you're working
you,
real
Jose.
hard. Hilda, you're working real hard
Thank
too.
you, dear.
Thank you for coming by.
Take care of yourself.
Folks at home, Joe Butler knows how to make a salad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
What about Hilda Mason?